And no one knows the importance of the burnout more than Don Garland. Don, what'd you think of these two?
Well, I thought that Darrell's burnout was a little on the short side. Usually he puts a little more heat in the tire. Could be that he's thinking the heat is already in the track and not necessary to get those slicks so hot.
We're looking at the beautiful polished machine of Laurie Johns. Laurie technically is considered still a rookie in this top fuel category, but she has already made it to the semifinals of a major event, and that's quite an accomplishment.
You know, you can't help but notice, Steve, it's not a modern car. The engine's down on the angle. It's got the old front wheels. Quite a bit of credit should be given to Laurie and the crew to get this car to perform this way.
Well, certainly the combination has been paying off. They're currently ranked 6th in Winston points, and she has been very impressive as she gets set to go against Darrell Gwyn. Gwyn, the big winner a year ago, 6 top fuel victories. That was an NHRA top fuel record. His crew chief is Ken Benny, and of course Don Garland is going to be talking to our victorious crew chiefs throughout the day. Laurie Johns qualified on the 4th spot at 5:19. Her crew chief is Larry Meyer. Earlier, Steve Evans was in her pit with this report on. Get set now for a second-round showdown with Darrell Gwyn. Earlier, she defeated Jack Ostrander.
Let's see if again Laurie Johns deep stages, Don Garland. She did it in round number 1. And as I said in that report, you'd never do it in qualifying. We've only seen it one time here today. She's now inching for it. Yep, she has turned out the pre-stage. Darrell Gwyn would never dare try that with the small front wheels. They're away, a good start. Laurie Johns ahead. Oh, and a big blower explosion for Darrell Gwyn.
Boy, that was an exciting thing there, Steve. Cleaned off the whole top of the engine. The fire doesn't hardly go out. Lots of parts dangling off the engine. Gwyn has got his hands full. Look at that supercharger. If one of those hoses breaks, that thing will fall down in front of the tire and give him all kinds of trouble.
I don't think I've ever seen a supercharger dissected, Gary, quite like this one.
And you could see the safety so far, you could hear them. They were honking. They wanted Gwyn to get slowed down, and they were already shooting retardant down onto the top of that demolished power plant. What a spectacular blow for Darrell Gwyn, who is now eliminated by Laurie Johns.
As we take another look, we see the start was fairly even. Even though Laurie Johns shows the better reaction time on the boards, Gwyn actually got out first, but the tires began to spin just a little bit. And you can see the smoke coming off the tops of the tires as Laurie Johns' car moves into the lead. And it's a lead that Gwyn was never able to pick up. And as they got closer to the finish line, a huge fireball comes out of Gwyn's car, and that's the end of Gwyn for this race.
A costly blow for Darrell Gwyn from another standpoint. He was second in points, trying to close on Gary Ormsby coming to Sanair. But this, of course, is going to cost him because Ormsby has already established the fact that he's going to be tough to beat with his low qualifying time. Gwyn, who won the Gator Nationals this season, out of the competition in a spectacular fireball. Let's check in at the end of the strip now with Steve Evans.
Well, I have seen some blower explosions in my time, Gary, but I've never seen one quite like this. There are actually two separate pieces of the supercharger, the injector also dangling down. Darrell Gwyn obviously distraught not only over losing, but that's a very expensive thing to have happen. Ears ringing a bit. Other than that, you okay?
Yeah, you know, Steve, there's always the danger of something coming into the tire. You know, the explosion's one thing, but pieces and parts dangling around underneath the tire is the only thing that worries me. Obviously, the blower came off and felt the kaboom, felt everything, but we've been struggling here all weekend, so we'll just have to give it our best shot the next one.
How about this safari crew? Could you believe it when you saw them right alongside you? You didn't even stop yet.
Yeah, they're telling me to slow down.
Okay, Darrell, sorry to see such... Earlier today, in round 1 of funny car competition, reigning Winston champ, in fact, 4-time champ, Kenny Bernstein, the red Buick Riata in the near lane, faced off with the blue car of Johnny West out of Phoenix, Arizona. Watch what happened here, especially to Bernstein, the machine in the near lane. Starter buster cap set them. Everything appeared to be just fine. Bernstein, a good launch, and suddenly smoke trailing behind Bernstein's car. Johnny West almost caught him, but couldn't quite do it. Now listen. That tinkling sound, we're connecting rods hitting the pavement. Massive engine destruction on the part of Kenny Bernstein. Right now in his pit is Don Garland.
What's happening is they've got to save this clutch out of Bernstein's engine. They came here with a new clutch, one that they had not been running previously, and they just have the one. So they must put this clutch on the new engine. So Dale Armstrong is very carefully laying this hot unit out on the pavement and saving it just exactly the way it came out of this engine so it can be reinstalled perfectly, because they need this to maintain this performance level that they've been experiencing at this event.
Well, the fortunate thing for Bernstein and the Armstrong crew is the fact that they do advance despite that problem. Meanwhile, we're back, ready for more second-round action in Top Fuel. Eddie Hill getting ready to light up the tires in his burnout.
Let's jump on board with the quickest of them all, Eddie Hill, and watch the finesse of the burnout. You can see the shudder that goes through the car when he steps on the pedal, and using that right hand on the brake, he very carefully and slowly stops the machine. If you stop them too quickly, sometimes the engine will stall.
You know, I really like that in-car camera, Steve. It's the closest thing to actually taking a ride if you're not going to get to take one that you can have.
Well, we got a good look that time from the cockpit of Eddie Hill's car. On the near lane is Joe Amato. Amato, the number 3 qualifier here on the Grand National, and he has lane choice.
And Amato has got the tunnels on the side of his car. You know, that car has been in a wind tunnel in Ottawa, the only wind tunnel in North America that a fuel dragster can fit into. And you notice he's running those pods, so that means they must do something.
Well, Eddie Hill is trying to recover from a disastrous spring nationals in Columbus, Ohio, where he failed to even qualify for the field, and he was deeply wounded, not financially or point-wise, but emotionally. But when Eddie Hill gets down, either mentally or mechanically, there's one man that can heal all his ills, and that's this guy, Buzzy Carter, the crew chief on the big yellow car from Texas. Joe Amato comes in, of course, as the reigning Winston champion from Old Forge, Pennsylvania. He won it all last year with a lot of help from this man, Tim Richards. They qualified number 3 to 517 and disposed of Jim Head in round number 1. But here they are in round 2. Amato in the near lane. Eddie Hill with that great big yellow scoop over in the far lane.
You know, that scoop must be doing something because he wouldn't be carrying that big heavy thing just for looks.
Eddie Hill is overstaged as well, but I don't believe that was on purpose. What a ride with Eddie Hill, but he comes up short. Joe Amato picks up the victory in round 2. Oh, look at the ETs, 5:28 to a 5:29, but Amato had by far the best reaction time.
Great battle between Amato and Hill.
Look at our next pair of Top Fuel dragsters, which includes, by the way, Dennis Borcell over in the far lane. You know, all these crews have these big, fancy electric engine hoists, but they never use them. They always do it by hand. Why?
It takes too much time, Steve, to set that turkey up. It's easier to just have 4 or 5 guys grab that engine and throw it in the car.
All right, here's the man who has the bear living in his trailer, Dennis Borcell, a businessman from Minneapolis in his 2nd year of Top Fuel racing. And what a crew chief he has, one of the very best. It is Larry Frazier from the state of Colorado. The car qualified 6th at a 5:21.
And he goes against Gary Ormsby, number 1 in points, already a 3-time winner this year on a tremendous roll. His crew is led by Lee Beard. He qualified in the number 2 spot, has already eliminated Pat Dakin, and Ormsby has elected the near lane, and it seems, Steve, that everybody now, with lane choice, is going for the near side of the racetrack.
They are indeed leaning to the near side. Ormsby ran quicker than Borcell in round 1, so he had the choice of lanes as they move up the stage here at Sanair in Quebec, Canada, Borcell far lane. Beautiful start by both drivers, no advantage there. And suddenly Borcell smokes the tires. Maybe indeed there is a lane imbalance. Gary Ormsby wins it at 5:18 to Borcell's 5:40. Then again, Borcell may have just overpowered the racetrack.
He'll be going side by side with a man who had the fastest qualifying time, Frank Bradley.
And you'll notice that he has chosen the near lane. They're favoring that lane because just off the concrete pad in the far lane, it is reported it's a little bit slick, and when they come in with that clutch engagement, they want to spin the tires.
Well, Dick LaHaye 2 years ago was the Winston Top Fuel champion. He electrifying the crowd with a burnout now. 3rd in points coming to Quebec. And on the near side, here's Bradley, who qualified at 5.126. Let's check in now at the opposite end. Steve is standing by Gary Ormsby.
Well, we heard Joe Amato say he was walking on eggshells just to run a 5:28. I don't know what you're walking on, Gary, but a 5:18 in the heat of the day. Very impressive.
Yeah, the car really left good that time, Steve. We took a little bit away from it from the last run, and it seems to be about all that track's going to take right now.
You intentionally backed it down a bit.
Just a little bit for this round.
You did that at Columbus, and it bit you.
Yeah, we did. It's a real fine line there, you know, when you take some of it out or leave it alone.